Hi, welcome to Lioness Forever, where we celebrate womanhood and godly living. My name is Flo, and I'm so glad to have you back. I pray that you're safe. I pray that you're well. I pray that God is keeping you. I pray that you're in good health. And I'd like to share something with you about doing business during this COVID-19 pandemic. But first, let's invite the presence of God by reminding ourselves of what His Word says. So today we'll be reading from the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4 from verse 12. Let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. And I really like that verse. I'm really grateful that this verse speaks to young people and just sheds God's light on how He perceives young people. And God is encouraging young people not to despise their youth, but to set an example through their habits, to set an example through their practices. I also think this verse is not just talking about young people, it's also talking about people who feel inexperienced, probably in new ventures. For example, this might be, a new job or a new strategy or something that you're undertaking, and God is like, you know what? Let your habits and characteristics set you apart. So I pray that God will give you the grace, He'll give you the impartation, He'll give you the wisdom to do that task which you're meant to handle, and you'll handle it excellently. Amen. So today we are going to talk about how to navigate this COVID-19 pandemic as a business person. Maybe you are an entrepreneur, you have your own business. Probably you work within a small or a large corporation, or you're even leading a large corporation or a department within a large corporation. Many people in the world have been affected just by the general flow of things based on how this pandemic has forced us to live. Now our norm is being 6 feet apart. It's really not normal. We can't shake hands randomly. You can't, visit people as you regularly would. So it's a very challenging time, and it's a very emotionally tense time. And what I want to bring light on is just how the reality is that it's not easy. I really extend empathy to you who's running a business and you are feeling like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And probably those of you who are even within businesses and you've had to adapt to so many changes. Maybe you're doing responsibilities that you weren't earlier anticipated to do. And I just pray that God would give you an assurance of His love even during this time. What I'd just like to note is that this is a season where you probably are going through a lot of emotions or thinking a lot of thoughts. Just acknowledge how you're feeling. Do not suppress how you're feeling, so that when the issues are brought to the surface, when you understand, okay, I feel sad. Why do I feel sad? I feel confused. Why do I feel confused? I feel limited in this way or that way. Why do I feel that way? When you acknowledge that, then you're able to move forward and say, okay, those causative agents can be dealt with by first highlighting what the truth of the matter is and what the truth of God's word is. And God will be able to propel you into a place of strength as you continue to seek Him and just even have that quiet time. Just have even some time just for meditating in God's word and reflecting and praying and allowing God to just speak directly to your heart. In this video, I want to give you 5 tips that could be of help to you if you're navigating this COVID-19 pandemic as a business person. So the first tip that I'd like to give you is open communication. Communicating openly and honestly can build a lot of respect between a team regardless of what is going on. I feel like sometimes we can have this pressure. If you're normally perceived as a strong person, the person who is the motivator, like a CEO for example, you're the custodian of the culture, or you are a custodian of the atmosphere in your business. What might happen to you is that you feel this pressure of, maybe the business is failing. You feel like you don't have the courage to express the realities of what's going on. But I just want to encourage you, especially if you're a person who is bearing bad news, to speak courageously. Being truthful really just helps, and being wise and diplomatic in how you do things really just allows people to see you as a human being as well, because you're not a robot, you're not an algorithm, you're a person who's managing a business. So I just want to encourage you to just be open about talking to your team about the challenges that are going on. So I pray that God will give you the strength, especially if you're the one who has to handle really tough things, to handle them with grace. The second tip I'd like to give you is to support your clients. Now, this actually just didn't come from me, it happened to me. So I had been working with a certain company last year, and our work ended, I think, very early January, late December, very early January. So what happened later is that it's April, and these guys have reached out to me asking me, hey Flo, how are you doing? How's your business keeping up? And I was like, wow, you guys are reaching out to me and asking me how I'm doing, and we finished doing business like so long ago. And I really appreciated and respected those guys. And I said, you know what, it's so good to know that these people have a heart for the people who aren't just with them right now, but those who they've worked with. And it gave me a lot of respect for them, because I know their portfolio has very many clients even at a single time, but now they were able to still talk to me, who was a previous client, and just give me some form of reassurance. So talk to your clients, text them, depending on the kind of business that you're doing. If it's business to customer and you're doing mass market kind of things, how are you reaching out to your clients? Make your priority list and find a way of reaching out to the ones you can. What I'd also advise you to do is to give relief where you can. If you're a company that is in a position to give relief in some kind of service or product, give relief, give some discounts or something that you weren't previously giving before. Give. This really depends with how your business is performing. I'm not saying that, oh, now this is the time to spend money. No, it's not the time to spend money, but it depends with how your company is performing. The third point that I'm going to speak about is innovation. So innovation comes about when you have to deal with issues of stagnation, when your company is reaching a plateau, or you are dealing with issues of disruption when your company is faced by a curve in the economy that is against your favor. The way of doing things is not going to change anytime soon. There's going to be a lot of readaptation, and it is going to take very critical thinking to be able to survive in this time. So using the time that's available right now, maybe you can spend this time as yourself or with your team thinking about the next best move for your company. How are you going to move past this COVID-19 pandemic based on the absolute numbers you're seeing in your country or your region, or in the regions where you do business? And just looking also at how do you make your business model resilient beyond the disruption that is currently existing. Actually, just having time sitting down with your team on Zoom or Hangouts, I prefer Hangouts, on Google Hangouts, and saying, you know what, how are we going to make our business model resilient to the point where it can survive? Are we going to need to change our product lines? Are we going to need to change our sales methodologies? What are we going to do? So sit down with your team and draw strength from being united in the cause to allow your business to continue. Be strong in the unity of just sharing with one another so that the business can live and actually thrive, because it is possible to thrive. Even in deserts, there are animals that live. The cacti have always lived. I like using the analogy of deserts because it shows you that resilience is actually a factor that exists in our natural world today. You could even watch, I dare you, by the way, just go to, those of you who have Netflix, go to Our Planet by the legendary David Attenborough and just look at how those desert animals live. How does that desert plant live? When it rains and all those plants and shrubbery come out, what does that mean? It's called, I think it's called biomimicry. Am I safe to say biomimicry in a business space? I know in design we use the term biomimicry, but I think you can actually use biomimicry for God to teach you, because God created the things in the desert. God can even give you inspiration from there. So I'm not telling you that all your answers are going to come from David Attenborough, but just poking your mind to think and just seeing where that takes you. So the next tip I have is building your digital footprint. Maybe you already have a digital footprint. Excellent, great. But this is for those of you who have just been operating very well, even with word of mouth, which is okay. It's still a traditional means of business, but this season is a time that's showing us the importance of interacting through the internet, the importance of the internet just as a means for us to talk and share information, and very crucial information at that. So I just encourage you, if you've not been active on social media, this is an opportunity to set up an account on social media, or freshen up your website if you can, depending on the resources that you're working with. What I'd also say is that it would be good for you to set up a digital strategy, for you to know, okay, now that I'm setting up these platforms, what information am I going to put on those platforms, and how is that information going to translate into income for my business? So it's really crucial that even if you don't know that, you can log on to YouTube University to find out tips on how to manage an online digital footprint. And also you could find out from experts, communications experts who you know or can be referred to and can consult with at this time. So what I can just advise you, for those of you who've been excellent, because I know there are very many excellent people who watch this channel, for those of you who've been doing really well in your digital experience or your digital output for your clients, what I'd say is freshen up your digital experience for your clients. Do something new for your digital experience for the people who subscribe to you, even if it's a personal brand. What I'd say is, in design we call it user interface and user experience design. That's just the general experience someone has when they visit your digital platform. It can be a website, it can be an app, it can be your social media pages, it can be whatever you have online, just for people to access information concerning you. So what I'd say is just doing simple things like improving the graphics. For example, the fonts you're using, the style of designing that you're using is really important. You just freshen it up a little, look for some applications that can give you free design tools, and that can really help. If you can do this within the team that you have, or try and learn how to do it this time, that would be great, or get someone to assist you to do it, that would be awesome. For those of you who have websites that have databases that you're working with, probably just improving the search proficiency for your website. Maybe you could add in a searching assistant or a bot which can, interact with the client, or even some mascot. You can even just have a mascot and say, hey, my mascot is like a penguin or something, that just pops up in different aspects of the website, just to maybe put up a quote, or just to say something encouraging to the client as they interact with the information. Those are things people take note of and appreciate. They may not necessarily immediately translate in money, but I think they just translate into the messaging of the business. Another thing I would say is that just check whether you're able to do this in-house. If you're able to do this in-house, great. If you're not able to do it in-house, there's another tip which is coming for you. So my last tip is storytelling. Very simple. Storytelling. What do I mean by storytelling? Storytelling is just about giving you experience of, how your company is working through COVID-19. Because at the end of the day, your experience is very valuable and relatable to somebody else out there, from heart to heart. So what I would advise you is tell your story. And you see, when you're vulnerable, it allows you to gain customer appreciation, because you're just showing that you're human, and you show that, yes, we face these struggles. All of us face these struggles. So This is just to touch base with your existing and potential client base. I'm not asking you to be too vulnerable. I'm just asking you to speak. I'm asking you to speak up and to give the unique story that only you can tell, because there's something very unique that God allowed you to present to the world. It's not just that, oh, we are here to churn money and to make money. Yes, you're here to make money, but you're making money for a reason. You're making money so that you can create a beautiful experience again and again and again and again. Sustainability allows the recreation of wonderful experiences. So whether you give a wonderful sound experience at events, or whether you give breakthroughs through your ideas in business, or whether you give awesome stock of groceries, or whether you give pens. You can even just be supplying pens and pencils, but those pens and pencils that you give, they change lives. They allow artists to grow in their talent. You see, now getting into the depths of those ideas is really awesome. What I'd advise you for storytelling is taking photos. Taking photos really is powerful. And right now, we are in a generation or in a time where many of us, I'm not saying all of us, many of us are privileged at least to have nice phones with some cameras that are also nice. Or we have friends with nice phones. So take a photo of even your office. Like, we miss our office. We miss this space, but we are trying our best to, get back to the place or the space and the work flow that you are in. Just share real stories about how you feel and how your team is doing their best to get their things together. Another thing I would say, shoot videos. Just say, hi, I'm the CEO, or I am the brand manager, and this is what we are doing. I would also suggest that if you can afford it, if you can do it in-house, make an infographic video. Even if all it has is a quote that is motivating, do something, make a message for somebody to read and say, you know what? This company is still hanging in there. Such and such a company is they're still moving. There's a heartbeat to the company. Another thing I would say is blog. Many times blogs are left to interns to do, which is great because interns and other members of staff really have a powerful voice. Keep them blogging. But especially if you are a CEO, if you are a managing director, this is your time to reach out to people. In moments of tension, people are always seeking direction. People are always seeking motivation, and leadership is a platform that presents responsibility of being a custodian of motivation. So if you're a leader, even it could be a church, probably the senior pastor has not been writing on the blog for a while. This is a time maybe your senior pastor should do a blog, because that really makes a statement. Like you see now, look at how it's translating in mainstream media. Our president is making statements. He makes statements in the moment of adversity. You can imagine if we never saw him from the first time the COVID-19 pandemic was announced. We would all be like, hey, where's the president? Where's the president? But you see, when he speaks, there's a sense of peace and order that just firms things, and you don't even know, the magnitude it has on not only reaching out to clients, but reaching out to your team, having one-on-ones and saying, hey, you know what, as the CEO today, I'm going to have a one-on-one with everybody in my team, if you can. Or you group people. If you're in a corporation, you could group people and say, you know what, today I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with this team. Today I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with this team. And you just touch base and you talk to people. So that storytelling is not only something you do for clients, but it's also something you could do within the office. And practices like embracing gratitude within the business and the operations of the business can really help you to at least have some joy and embrace the good things that are happening. So the main thing is just showing the heart of the business. My prayer is that God will help you to apply the wisdom that you need to apply to make excellent moves at this time. God is a God who can allow you to grow even in this very difficult time. He can allow your business to expand even in this very difficult time. Or even if you have to shut down your business, may it not be that for you in your mind you're thinking, oh, you know, it's over with me, it's done with me. It's not over with you, it's not done with you. God's not done with you. Just like the song by Torren Wells. I love that song. Anyway, God's not done with you. God's not done working on you, working with you, and He has good plans for you. So I pray that you find God in this season. It may be really trying, but I really pray that you come out on the other side strong and victorious. So my prayer is that God gives you wisdom, God gives you grace, and I pray that you feel encouraged. I pray that you experience the blessings of God. I pray that you see the goodness of God. I pray that God speaks to you directly and just gives you encouragement so that you say, you know what? My business will survive. My goals will survive. They may not manifest the way I thought they would, but they will manifest because I know I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. So may God bless you so much. I have really enjoyed sharing these tips with you. Please DM me on the journey that you're taking as a business person. I'd love to hear your comments, and we will continue talking and interacting on the same. May God bless you, and may the peace of God just be abundant in your life. Shalom, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Subscribe, like, and share the content on this page. Mwah.